I want to tell you a story.
What do you want to tell me a story about?
I went on a little holiday to my favourite place in the world. This is the Maldives. One of the really common things you find at these Maldivian islands are these water villas. That's a lot of people stay in them. They're like the nice thing to stay in. And I went to the island. I think I went to the gym. So to do a Fitotron 5,000 meters on the treadmill.
Counts double when you're on holiday.
Exactly. So my wife stayed in the villa and she went out onto the deck at the back of the villa to go and look at the sea. And I think she put her Beats headphones on and was listening to music. I came back and my key had stopped working. Mm-hmm. I was banging on the door and the doorbell and she couldn't hear me because she had the music on. So I looked at the villa next door and the guy who was like cleaning the villas, who I knew because I'd spoken to him on previous days and asked him about things and, asked him about the Maldives. We'd become friendly.
Of course you did.
And I said, I've got a problem. I've locked myself out. So he said, I'll let you in. And he got his like master key out and was going to walk around and let me in. And I said, no, I've got a better idea. Let me through this villa. So he let me walk through the villa he was cleaning to their back veranda area. And then I went down their ladder into the sea and I swam across to our villa, the next villa, so I could then emerge from the sea and just come up the ladder and just appear before my wife, like out of the water, like James Bond. Thought the only thing that would have made it cooler was if I'd like ripped off my clothes and I had a tuxedo underneath. Surprise, here's your man. And she just looks at me and says, "What? I didn't see you go in the sea." And I said, "I came from next door. I've been locked out knocking on the door and I swam here from the villa next door." And she went, "Oh, I thought maybe you'd gone for a swim and I hadn't noticed." I was so deflated. Like that was going to be like the story that she would tell for years to come of the day her husband just emerged from the sea. And it was,
I'm looking actually at some satellite pictures of these little houses on the sea. They can't be more than 10 feet apart. You're trying to describe like you're super impressive here. Like you swam across the open ocean,
to the next island.
Right. To the next island. You just got a little wet, barely moving any kind of distance. Like I, who hates the ocean, who hasn't touched the ocean in a decade possibly, I would feel completely comfortable swimming from one of these villas to the others if I got locked out. I'm totally with your wife on this one,
This
man.
was not a great feat of swimming. I will grant you that.
It's not even like some genius plan that you came up with. Like it's the obvious thing to do.
No, the obvious thing to do. No,
this is
Gray.
the Maldives equivalent of walking through your neighbor's backyard to get to your own house.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
Yeah,
it's so
true.
impressive. You've been building up this story to me about like, oh, Gray, you just can't wait. I have such a story to tell you about getting locked out of my hotel, and I'm sitting here like waiting for the story to happen. But I am just as unimpressed as your wife is.
Would you have been as comfortable doing this swim if the night before, when you were looking through your glass window in the floor, you had seen 3 5-foot-long sharks swimming under your villa?
You could see sharks 4 miles, I'm sure.
No, that's not true with sharks and fish, even when the water's clear.
Literally miles.
If you can show me the text or the email or remind me of the conversation that happened where I said I did something incredibly impressive to get into a locked hotel room, I will apologise. My recollection is that I had just a funny, light-hearted moment that happened when I locked myself out of a hotel. And because it did not involve putting my life at risk, it seems to be inadequate for the Hello Internet podcast. And for that, I apologise.